Good afternoon to the AsyncAPI community meeting, also known as SIG meeting. The meeting is being recorded, so please, and it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. So please bear that in mind if you're attending the meeting. Now, let me just open the agenda and look what we have for today. The first topic we were supposed to discuss is about the proposal. It's not yet even a proposal yet. It's a request for change in the spec that comes from Marek Sebera from the community. It's a proposal that addresses a request reply pattern in the spec. We advised Marek to join the meeting to explain the request for change and preach for the community to join the discussion in the proposal. But I don't see Marek on the list of the people that joined the meeting, like on the list of the participants. So I guess we're gonna have to skip, but even though we can't get into a full discussion about the proposal and have him explain it, I still think it's okay to send you a link. So it's a very valid request for change, but there are just some different opinions, especially if it comes to the location of the information for to work with request response and have it supported in the spec. So if you are into it, like if you ever missed a support for request response pattern, please join the discussion there, and we will just move the topic for next community meeting, where Marek can share more details, unless you have already something to add. So yeah, the stage is yours. Just share your opinions. But yeah, usually when somebody suggests topics, but people don't come up, we just move them. But if you have something to add for others that will watch the recording and will help understand the request for change, then please. Okay, cool. So, and yeah, I just realized that I usually first ask people and welcome people for the first time and not jump coldly into the agenda. So anybody has any questions, answers before we go further with the action items that we have on the list? Or maybe you're here for the first time and you'd like to introduce yourself to the group. That's the best moment to do it. So please feel free to unmute and speak. Okay, I mean, nobody said anything, but I see there's interesting discussion in the chat. And yes, Sergio, it's also nice to see your face. Okay, another topic on the list is collective work efforts toward 3.0 release. And it's a topic proposed by Jonas Lagoni, and I see Jonas here. Would you like to unmute and introduce what is it about? And I can give you share rights if you want to, if you need them.
I was just hoping that you took it over. Just like. so I could sit back.
No, I'm coughing all the time, so it's gonna be disturbing. I did not even recorded my sessions yet for the conference because like I'm unable. So yeah, sorry.
Oh no.
You have to do it.
Fair enough. So yeah, this is more or less just to highlight that we are trying to push towards a 3.0 version at the moment. At least me and Sergio are kind of pursuing it. But we kind of need your help in order to achieve this, because it's gonna be a major work to get that finished, or even to a state where it can be released. So I'm kind of proposing that we start a specific working group that's gonna be a recurring meeting similar to the SIG meeting that we have here, but specifically for discussing and trying to move 3.0 in the right direction. It's going to be in the same format as, at least that's the suggestion, same format as the SIG meeting, where nothing is really, there's no hard decisions on any of these meetings. It's more to discuss PRs, issues, what need to change, what need to be done, in order to more collaborate on that approach. So it's just an invitation, more or less, to, if you have any ideas how we can best achieve this, I'm gonna post the discussion link in the chat. And yeah.
Sorry if this is a silly question. I was just wondering, whenever you start to try to set up these meetings, are you gonna try to choose the time that works for all the time zones? Are you thinking about doing more than one meeting, kind of like how Lukasz does with this one, or what were your hopes for that? I was curious.
Yeah, it's a great question, because it's one of the things that have not been decided in any way. And that was also one of the perspectives, is how can we do it? Should we do it like we do with the SIG meeting, just 1 week it's EU times, next week it's Central America times, or whatever? It's up for discussion. So if it's needed that we have these split time zones, then let's do it. It's all about who actually wants to join, right? But it's a good suggestion. Do you mind adding it as a comment for a discussion? Thanks. So yeah, nothing is set in stone how we do it. We haven't done a major release at this scale yet, so everything is up for discussion how we achieve it. So all of your input are welcomed. But that's more or less what I wanted to highlight. Or if anyone have any more questions regarding it.
It's for you're aiming for January, right? Is that correct?
No, it's ready when it's ready.
Okay.
So it's kind of like whoever joins the working group, it's a shared kind of agreement whenever it's ready. There's no set time stone. We are aiming for, I think it would be nice to have it in April. I think January is way too, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's way too much to be done. So the more realistic timeline might be in the April release, right? But it depends on how it goes. Maybe
Maybe all suddenly 40, 50 people will join us and help us update all the tools, which would be awesome.
Which we need. Just saying. There's a lot there. Sergio?
Yeah, I wanna highlight something you mentioned, this concept of working group, or whatever cool name you wanna gather there. So something we have been talking just in a random thought, yeah, it would be nice to gather people for this kind of concept of working group, like release working group. So it doesn't have to be the same people that joins those calls, right? And not all of them. those should attend the meetings, but at least to gather more people interested on follow and collaborate with the release of V300. Something I want to also add here is that we created an issue, which is like very short right now, that is gonna be about keeping a journal for the release process. So a simple journal where we will be writing comments that will act as a logs for everything. It's not gonna be, I guess, it's not gonna be everything in there, because for that reason we have issues and so on, but like a very summarized idea, right? Why? Because with this, we have documentation for free for next release, right? I like Alejandra doing thumbs ups. Also because we have a common reference point for people that joins at some point this working group or the meetings or whatever. And also I think I write it there to obviously write some blog posts explaining how we achieve it and all this good stuff. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Sorry, how do we add things to the journal? Is it we tag this in other issues, or we just come in here and post directly in the journal?
Yeah, I guess it's just, shouldn't have to be very formal process, right? It's just, thanks to GitHub comments, I think we can just write, for example, I wrote today that during today's meeting, we will mention that Jonas will mention the fact that we want to create these meetings, these recurring meetings, and so on. So feel free to add anything you feel it should be there.
So I think the only reason I asked was because I think if you tag in other issues, if we tag that particular journal, then GitHub will automatically put it in there, won't it? As a reference, it's been referenced. But I don't know if that'd be too much, but it's just a thought. But anyway, yeah, let's keep it simple for now, as you said. Cool.
Okay.
This is also kind of an invitation to, if let's say that you work in a company and you have a specific implementation for 2.0 and want to know, as soon as we reach a step or a state where we actually know what is included in 3.0, to join and learn how to actually not convert, but adapt your tooling. Like, what is the changes, and go into more depth. How can I handle this or this? Because we need to do it on our own tooling as well, right? For the tooling that we maintain. So it's a shared process, a collaborative process on what need to change. So it's for everyone. Maybe you want to help out. Maybe you just want to listen in. It's open for everyone. Same as the SIG meeting.
About thoughts on temporary Slack channel, where people could come in from a 2.x to a 3. Ask questions, get help, get involved. I don't know. Was if people just, or we use general channel, I don't know, or spec channel, I don't know, one of the channels.
I mean, for me, it makes sense just to have it in the spec channel, unless there's very specific reasons. I can't, because the spec channel isn't used that much, so I don't think it's going to create too much. Everything is relevant within that channel, but it's definitely something you can look at.
This discussion that you linked, that's where basically people should discuss all of it, right? So whenever
it's kind of more a discussion, should we do this working group? And whenever that working group is in session, or like, yeah, also that, like, how do we handle the changes from 3.0 or 2.0 to 3.0. It's also a discussion about that. We can include that. Yeah.
Anyone else want to add something?
I just wanted to add that I really liked Sergio's idea for starting to journal, and I really like how it'll be great work that can be reused and revamped for the docs. So that makes me excited. I think it's a cool idea.
And I keep my fingers crossed that it actually happens, because I have
no faith in Sergio.
Oh, I just know how it looked like when I was doing releases before. So yeah, I wanted to keep the journal daily updated, fresh, but ended up writing down everything I remember at the end of the release. So if even more people have to do it, like, it's gonna be a challenge. So the initiative is awesome. Just prepare. It's just gonna be a challenge to accomplish that. Don't be so optimistic.
Don't be so pessimistic.
This is the most pessimistic meeting you've run, Lukasz. way to encourage your team. It's dark outside.
Yeah, we switched times now, so I'm until spring. I'm gonna have dark humor on those calls.
Sergio, I want you to know that even if he doesn't believe in you, I believe in you. Okay, you're not alone.
That's enough for me. Thank you, Alejandra.
and Alejandra, do you remember what I said at the beginning of the meeting, that it's being recorded? So I hope your statement will age well.
You added more pressure. Now I cannot fail. Come on.
Oh, you can just tag us in. Maybe you can say, hey, I own this, but I would like another 2-3 people to help me out. I think that it's fair for us to help out too. I don't know if that works.
Yeah, the good point is that Jonas is gonna help us. Randomly picking someone.
Why do you put pressure on me now? This was your idea, so it's all you. I'm just along for the ride.
No, but it's a good suggestion, Alejandra. Yeah, this is gonna be shared weight, responsibility shared. Good.
He's gonna crack the whip.
So to jump to another topic, let me be serious for a sec, and yeah, so I'm all with you for the meeting. I think we need to do them. At least we need to try, because that's one of my findings when working on the conference, that I wanted to do everything async with the community, but I have a feeling that if there would be synchronous meeting, it would be easier to take people on board, to get help from them. At least that's how I would do it next time. But I will leave my comment as well in the discussion. Like, I'm pretty much biased if it comes to the naming, like SIG or working group. So I suggest you don't use it, but I'm gonna explain myself in the discussion. I just have bad experiences with working groups, as they're not that open long term. It's just hard to join the group once it kicks off. But yeah, let's just discuss. So I would say, yes, people, please join the discussion. Let us quickly set up the action points, what has to be done, like, and if there's any objection, let us clarify and find consensus, and then let's do it together, because 3.0 is really gonna be a ride. Okay, so any additional comments to this? Okay, so Next topic, conference. Wow. So yeah, conference starts Tuesday next week, which is pretty close. So latest things I can share with you, we have a list of speakers. Unfortunately, I don't have yet all the recordings, but so far so good. We started marketing, but I mean, if you want to know more details, I would put anyway summary in the discussion where we were talking about the marketing. But if you ever think about spending money on Twitter adverts, don't waste the effort. But yeah, we have already 432 registrations, and we also don't say, like, don't hide that we'll also stream the conference to our social media so that people don't have to register. So looks good in my opinion. The Swag setup is also ready. Barbaño put a update on discussions as well. Like, we already know what Swag pack community thinks is the best, and once the conference finish, yeah, we'll start contacting people on where to send swags. So thank you, Barbaño. And we just, so what left really is some Twitter announcements of the talks. So thanks to Missy, we have nice speaker cards. So we're going to use them to promote every single presentation. So it's going to be super busy on Twitter next few days before the conference. And I guess it's pretty much it. I just need to drag Fran to steal his brain on how to set up all the streaming services, because he was doing it for the last conference we had last year. But nothing so far shows that we will cancel the event. So it's gonna be all right. I can't really wait.
That ever up for discussion?
Sorry?
Was that ever up for discussion that it had to be cancelled?
Never know. But luckily I did not have to face it. Any specific questions to the conference you have? Yes, Alejandra.
I was curious how we can get our speaker cards, because I remember I seeing a thread where Missy asked if she should commit them, but then you asked to have them put in another folder. And so I was curious about that.
I just pasted a link to the Google Drive. I just put it there.
Oh, okay, cool. I have another question. The other thing that I was wondering was, in the future, besides just sending to you directly and, annoying you with 20 recordings of conference talks that we all just made and the PowerPoint slides, why not create a Google Drive and just tell us all drop your stuff there? I was curious about that because I was wondering if there was something I didn't know about why that couldn't be done.
It's time limits. So even though it sounds strange, it was easier for me to handle the conversation than now ping 20-something people to get their email addresses so I can give them access to the Google Drive. So yeah, okay. But it's the last time we're doing the conference this way. Next year we need much more professional setup, like more involvement of Linux Foundation basically. So next year it will feel like it's much more professional than this time and much better organized.
If Jonas pulled his weight, we wouldn't feel this way. Just saying.
Yes. So yeah. So that's why it looks like this. But so we have a Google Drive. It was just, too many things happening around to handle that properly. and that was not part of the deal with Linux Foundation, so they can take care of it. Yeah, but one, like the conference is on WebEx, and WebEx has this feature that we can make pools. And one of the pool will be definitely asking people, like, what do you think about having a conference next year in person, like in-person event? And I hope everyone will say, yeah, let's do it. So spoiler alert, there will be some pools, some questions.
I have another question.
Yeah, go on.
So now this made me wonder, whenever we feel that it's safe enough to consider doing the conference in person, I was hoping that we would still consider the offering of doing it in person, but also online, so that people who don't feel safe traveling yet can still participate, and people that don't have money to travel can still watch the conference. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, it's, I guess people will call it hybrid approach or something like this. Yeah, I mean, when I said like do it more professional and engaging more with Linux Foundation, I was thinking like basically they have a lot of experience. That's why I want to hand over to them and definitely do a hybrid, because they already know how to do it, because they do it on a huge scale with CNCF and the KubeCon. Like, so for this year, since I was the only one pushing so much for the conference, I took the liberty to decide it's going to be full online, especially also because of the time frame. But I just wanted to be like respectful to everyone that like, especially to countries that don't have access to vaccines as easy as other countries, to be respectful to other community members. But next year it's like, it's different. It's and I think it's a place for hybrid approach, definitely. And I guess I think a hybrid approach will actually stay longer in the industry, because I don't think COVID is the only reason why people can't travel. It's also about the budget, and depends where you're from. It's not so easy to travel. Any other questions? Let me ask questions if you have questions to Kath. That moment for Kath. And then let me take a look on the agenda. I don't remember what's next. Yeah. Maciej, are you still there? Are you still there?
Yeah.
Houston? Okay.
I am.
So there's a proposal, I mean, the item from Maciej. It is, yeah, you want to share the proposal you have, like details on the proposal you have for.
Yeah, exactly. I will share my screen.
Yeah. Let me make you a co-host first.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I can share. It should be this. Yeah, okay. Do you see that? I will resize. Yeah, I think that it should be good. Yeah. So yeah, a few months ago in the 10th September, I created the proposal for the specification to allow defining the schema format other than the default one, because at the moment we have the default one schema format. It's called the AsyncAPI schema object, and it's something like the superset of the JSON schema, because it's exactly the JSON schema, but we also add the few additional keywords, as I remember the three: discriminator, deprecated, and the external. So the main problem is that some people, as I remember from the SOLAS, want to use also as I remember, the RAM or AVRO definition, not only in the message payload, because at the moment, if you have some model, some schema defined in the other schema definition, something like the XSD or GraphQL or protobuf, then you can only use it in the message payload. You cannot use, for example, in the message headers, where you can also define it as the schema or in the channel parameters. Yeah. So this is the problem: how to exactly tell to specification that this schema is in the another format. So my proposition is to extend the schema object to the union type, because at the moment you can only write it as the, the JSON object, yes, or YAML, if you use the YAML, but it's exactly the JSON. So to extend to the union type, so the first type with a form of the correct one, yeah, so it's the normal YAML or JSON, but the second, it will be something like the object, the JSON object with two fields, the schema and the schema format, yes. So exactly as we have, for example, I will show that. So in the message object, we have something like the schema format, yes? And it's exactly indicates that the given payload is in the given schema format. So there is an example in the specification, yeah, like this, yes? So it means that here we make some reference to the, as I remember, it's the extension for the Avro file, and then points to the user create some model, some type, yes? And here we define that this payload is defined with the Avro format. So exactly in my proposition, it works in this same way, but we have the schema format field exactly inside the schema, yes? The second type of the new union type of the schema object, yeah? So as you can see, this type, the old one, is exactly the same. So you can define the schema in two ways, but it's exactly compatible with each other, yeah? I think that it's a, yeah. Can you join, Lukasz, the new guest?
Yeah, I did it. No worries.
Okay.
Don't worry about those pop-ups.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so there is any question from you about that? Maybe more clarification? Okay.
So the proposal is to keep the old approach as well.
Yeah, keep the old approach and the new approach. I will talk why I want to, have this old approach also, yeah. Because, yeah, to the old approach, because I think that it's a very good thing to have something like the default schema format in the root of the specification, like the default content type. So it means that if you, for example, want to define all schemas in the specification in the Avro format or RAM, or I don't know, maybe in protobuf also, that you can reuse some models defined, for example, for the old application, and you want to describe it in the Essence API with the Essence API, then you can define in the root exactly the default schema format. And then if you define some schema, it exactly insert the schema format from this root field, yeah? So it's very, very similar to default content type, because, for example, you can define the content type in the message object and it overrides the default content type from the root. And it's usually the application JSON, yeah? So it's very, very similar. Yeah, there is a example with the protobuf. I don't know how to exactly call the schema format for protobuf. It will be probably something like that. But yeah, as you can see, we can, for example, define the protobuf as the string, because we cannot define it in other format in the JSON, and then only in the case that the given schema is in the protobuf. And there are some examples, yes, some complex examples, so I don't want to talk about that. If you, okay, sorry, because probably we don't have it in the, how to? Okay, Lukasz, could you could you pass this my issue to the chat? Because I
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, because I don't see the panels for. Okay, okay. So yeah, so there is examples. Yeah, and it's also, this proposal works with the binding as extension, because sometimes if you have some binding like the HTTP, then, as I remember, in the headers, you must exactly write some schemas for the headers object, yeah? So you can also make it with this proposal and also with the extension. So it's example for the extension. That some extension like the need schema then it's schema, and you exactly define the schema format. Yeah, the schema and the schema format. Yeah, about the parser implementation, I know that it's the implementation details, but it will be very, very easy to implement in the parser, not only in the parser.js, but also for the another, like the Go parser, because we make something like the inferencing values. Yes, if we check that the given schema has the schema field, then we can read these values from the schema, like this one. Yeah, so the nodes, I think that the schema format at the message level should be deprecated. So it will be breaking change. So we should go with that in the next major version. Add the new field in the root, the default schema format. And of course, change the schema object type to the union type. The second one with the schema and the schema format fields. Yeah. Yeah, and also, yeah. And the last thing, I wrote that this proposal doesn't solve the problem of making the references for the deep values, but I think that I will talk about that after your question to the first part, because this proposal has also the second part. Do you have any question, or everything is clear? I don't think so. I mean, I see face of some people, so.
In 2 seconds, I need to think.
Okay.
So my question will be about
Yeah?
the, you showed the protobuf example above and string.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What this proposal has to do with it? Like I mean, at the end it's YAML, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and so you can pass object or string. Is it just an example of protobuf that simply protobuf cannot be represented as JSON schema, and that's the only reason we presented it this way?
I mean, you probably, I don't know if you can define the protobuf.
No, I don't. I mean, to what I've seen, you can't. So basically, that's the only reason why you showed it this way, because it's
yeah, exactly. Because of course you have something like the Avro and RAM, and you can define it with the JSON format, yes. But the problem is something like the string format. I call that this as the string format, like the exactly protobuf, GraphQL, and XSD. Because you cannot make, the XML annotation, XML tags inside the JSON. So you must treat it as the string. So by this, I would like to show that with this proposal you can also use the string format. Of course, this is not the string, but with the in the point of view of JSON. Yeah.
Yeah. But how about like? Yeah. So my question would be like, I guess silly, because I don't remember. I remember that some time ago, I think with Nick from IBM, I had similar discussion about strings in here when we were talking about Avro, and I think he asked if he can pass Avro schema as a string and not formatted JSON.
You can.
Yeah, but like to what I remember from the conversation, it was a few months ago, but I think the spec was clear that it cannot be string when you talk about payload.
Yeah, probably, as I remember. No. Or maybe I can see.
So what I remember, like as far as I remember,
No, the type is any. The message payload is any, but the problem is, for example, with the schema, for example, in the headers, because you exactly must define it as the JSON like this. Yeah. So it will be also breaking changes, because in every places where exactly you can define the schema object, we should change it to the any type. Yes, because in my proposal I added the default schema format field, and it indicates that, for example, if you write that every schema in your specification will be the protobuf, so it will be the string format, then the schema object should have also something like the any type, yes, because you can define it as the string or the object, the JSON. Yeah.
If you read the description and the end of the description for payload, it defines that you cannot define it as a string.
Okay, so we have to change that. Yeah.
But it's gonna be a bit of a, because we're kind of pushing the limits of what YAML and JSON can even represent, right? That's kind of the core issue here, is that you cannot define it with the structure that Avro or Protobuf, like their structure for defining messages or their schema, whatever.
Yeah. So at the moment there is an issue, yeah, but we should change it, yes, to make it more freedom to users and more flexibility.
But it's only a challenge if you, as far as I understand, it's only a challenge if the proposal also wants to address Protobuf. If it's only about making other officially supported schema formats support. Check. Wait, because I just realized the sentence that I want to say. It's so complicated that I don't understand it already. Let me rephrase. So, at the moment, the spec says that you must, like, the parser must support certain schema formats, and there's nothing about Protobuf. And what I want to understand is, like, this string thingy that we're now discussing, it's only for Protobuf case, right? So if you would like to support Avro, OpenAPI, RAM data models, or whatever, or JSON, or actually, or even like pure JSON schema in the components in schemas, you can do it without this change for string support. Did I phrase my question?
Yeah. As I remember, and I understand. But as I remember, there we have also another issue for that. That at the moment, with the current specification, we cannot define the Avro or RAM schemas inside the component schemas because we have some probably the bug inside the JSON schema. But it's not related to specification. Yeah, but we have the issue for that. We will show probably.
Lukasz, what you talked about is not only for Protobuf. It's actually just any format that isn't defined in YAML or JSON format, right? So this means XML, Protobuf,
yeah, exactly. But
whatever.
Actually, but basically schema formats that anyway AsyncAPI officially does not support. Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify. Like, I'm just looking at the proposal, like what's breaking change and what's really needed to be there and cause the breaking change, and what is actually still a value added, but doesn't have to break the spec.
Yeah.
So that's why I just asked questions to just identify this.
I think that it should not break the breaking changes, so we can treat it as the minor change. Of course, if you go only with the JSON, but if we want to go with the string, that's the problem. But I wanna support also the string formats because we have the item in the future panel on our roadmap. Yes. So for that, I also had some examples how to exactly handle the string format. But yeah, we can, for example, making in the iteration, yes, go first only with the YAML formats and then go with the string in the next major version. It's not the problem.
Would you really want to, I'm trying to think about, would you really want to inline it with a string in any use case? Would you want to inline a Protobuf message structure
Probably
inside?
No. Probably no. Yeah, probably no. But you know, you can make the reference to the existing file.
Exactly. That's my point. Is there any reason why we want to change that the payload can be defined as a string? Is there any use?
We must, because if you make the reference to the file which isn't the JSON or YAML, then you exactly put it as the string. Not as the So we must also add support for the string. It's something like, you know, the problem not from the specification side or us, but from the tooling side, and also this JSON specification.
But I don't think, like, but even if it's but ref $ref, I think you have, like, you're obligated to have JSON on the other side.
No, I have also the same problem, but the tooling, yeah, the tool that we use in the parser.js, for example, I don't remember that name. The JSON schema referencer or the reference, I don't know.
Resolver.
Yeah, ref resolver or something like that. So it treats the content from the file that it isn't the JSON as the normal string. Why? Because if you, for example, parse some value to JSON, yes, that you want make from the string to the JSON object, some value that isn't the object, you exactly have the string or the number, because the string and the number is also the instance of the JSON. Yeah, because I don't know how to call that, but it's exactly the instance of the JSON. So the string is also treated as the JSON. Maybe it's very hard to understand, but yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Isn't that only relevant for our parser in JavaScript? That's only relevant for the library that we use as a dependency, right?
Probably.
It's not defined in any specification that this reference need to be resolved to XXX. It's not stated anywhere, I think. And this is more or less a problem. So we actually have a more larger problem with reference altogether in the specification and in tooling, which Lukasz will try to clarify in a couple of days, because I just had a discussion with Ben from JSON Schema as well, because with the newer versions of JSON Schema, ref means something different than it does in draft 7 that we use. And the way that we define a reference object in the specification does not align with these new behaviors. Because at the moment we reference some specification about JSON referencing back in 2013, I think it's referencing. And JSON Schema does not use that anymore. And it's the same with OpenAPI. OpenAPI define their own behavior for what ref really means. There isn't any common spec that we can just say, this is how you define references and kind of bundle them together. There isn't any. So it's kind of a larger issue that's kind of being rolled up into also this issue that you have, Magic, which is a larger discussion that we probably need to have soon. And it's also because tooling doesn't support it. We use a tool at the moment. Our parser is bugged based on the spec.
Yeah.
Because the underlying library that we use to dereference or bundle objects together allow reference and other keywords to be defined at the same time, but our spec says something different. So let's say I reference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can make a reference to the message.
Exactly.
And then inside to the message, for example, for payload. Yeah.
Yes. And our parser fully supports and allows kind of this inheritance kind of behavior, because the underlying library we use are bugged or doesn't follow what the spec actually defines. And this is a problem for Go, Java, whatever libraries that we might need it for. There isn't any common specification and tooling to this. It's all kind of hands off and say, this is just the behavior that we decided to do. So we are kind of in a limbo here. Also in terms of, should we try to build our own bundler? That's also up in the air. But it's something we're going to clarify in the upcoming days as well.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah. So this is a problem. So my proposal,
it has a ripple effect, let's just say that.
Yeah.
Proposal is still valid for certain cases. So
some cases, yeah.
And I mean, at least, and these cases are more more important to current users than protobuf, like
Yeah, for sure.
because people talk more about Avro and
yeah, so we can go with the JSON types and then think about the string use and try to fix some issues with these references.
Just give it a thought.
Yeah.
Just remember, we don't make decisions on the call. So I shared the link to this proposal in the chat. So whoever wants to jump here into the proposal later, just feel free to do it. And I suggest you like sync with Jonas on his findings. And something that is in the contribution guide, and I'm going to talk about it on the conference. I will point out that sometimes it's much better. I mean, something to consider for you. Sometimes it's much better to open a PR with proposal than an issue. Because especially in this case, when you have to show how it looked in the old spec and how it's going to look in the new one, I think it would be much easier to engage people and explain them if it's shown in the PR and as edits to the spec. So
yeah, okay, I will create the PR. Don't worry.
Especially if it goes back and forth with changes, then it's really, really difficult to follow along what the actual changes is. It's a good point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but at the end, because I said that this proposal has two parts. The first part with these references with the string formats, and the second is to how to exactly make the pointers to the given model, nested models inside the custom formats, because at the moment we follow by the JSON pointers, and as I remember in the Avro or RAM you have the another format for the pointers, and this is also the problem. So yeah, if you want, you should read the second part with the update section, and yeah, leave the comment.
I actually don't think there's any blockers for you to move to a PR.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
we need it, right? We need to change. So
yeah.
Just need to figure out the right approach and what's missing.
Okay.
Thank you. Just keep in mind that when you decide to like drop string idea and just go with the non-breaking change, then I will be the first one for sure that will ask you like, are you sure if the simple approach will not cause any issues once we want to support strings? So just think about it when you will work on the PR.
Okay.
Depends on what.
Okay, I will think. Okay, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And so we have like 1 minute left. So the most important topic. Can you stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. So the most important topic, which normally I would do it at the beginning of the meeting. I just forgot about the hackathon, and maybe somebody just joined to learn who won the AsyncAPI hackathon. So my apologies. I'm definitely not myself today.
Is it not announced in the conference, like end of conference, something like that?
No. In the conference, we just show who show the winners, but to show them properly, we need to sync with the winners before the conference to have it done properly. So no, we should tell who. Oh, but actually, no. Now that you said it, because of you, I have to double check to make sure. But I think we promised that we're gonna announce last Friday. If somebody already knows the answer, please jump in. Otherwise, I'm just scrolling through the blog post about hackathon.
So you made all of those that's waiting for the answers of the hackathon. You made them watch all of our discussion of forcing them to watch it. Our discussion about changes. And all they wanted to hear was who won.
That's typical.
You're evil.
It's a really good way to build trust in the community.
Is this dark weather that's affecting you, huh?
I'm so focused on the blog post that I don't really know what you're saying. So sorry.
He's not sorry.
How can you tell? So the blog post doesn't say. And I honestly don't remember. What was the day on Friday? Was it 2nd, 3rd? What day do we have today? Wait. It's 9.
Friday was the 5th.
5th.
So November 5.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I wrote on Twitter that we're gonna share the info today. And anyway, it's just few of us, and some people will watch the recording, and maybe hundreds of millions of people will retweet the information. But yeah, well, we promised to announce. Then we will then we make sure that our promises are made. The winner of the AsyncAPI hackathon so we had like maybe some organizational. So we had 10 people from the community that volunteered to go through the submissions of the hackathon. We had 9 submissions, 10 people voting, and the submission that got the largest amount of votes is AsyncAPI Bundler from Sovik. So Sovik is today not on the call, but yeah, I'm gonna drop him a DM on Slack definitely. So congratulations to Sovik. And we don't have a 3rd place because votes for the 2nd and 3rd place were the number was the same, like the same amount of people voted for 2 submissions. You know what I mean, right? So basically we have 2 submissions on the 2nd place, like runner-up. And these 2 submissions are, one is the event discovery agent with AsyncAPI output from Greg Meldrum. And the other one is AsyncAPI blocks. So from all those 3 people, I see Ace on the call. So Ace, congrats for being a runner-up. And we also like together with people that were voting on proposals, because we did not really know what to do with if we have 2 people, like 2 people having a 2nd place, how do we share money? So basically the decision of the group was that we will simply have 2 2nd prizes. So we don't summarize and divide by 2, but basically both people, both people will get $3,000. And yeah, the 1st place gets $5,000. And it's mainly because we can do it, and we can be so nice, mainly thanks to our platinum sponsors that gave us enough money to do it. But I'm not gonna now quickly mention them, although I can. Let me be nice. So it's IBM, Abli, WSO2, Postman, and Solus, of course, Solus. So thank you. So the votes, everything will be super transparent. So as a post on discussions, I'm gonna place a spreadsheet with names of people that were voting and comments on a given winner submission, why they voted for a given submission. So that will all follow probably today after this call, and the link to the item where I describe it, it's gonna be it's gonna be in the meeting notes. And yes, Ace, we're definitely gonna send you some swags. And actually, every participant in the hackathon, so all 9 people will get a swag bag. But yeah, we're gonna contact you offline. And yeah, it's 5 minutes past. Thank you all for joining. Again, next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have a AsyncAPI conference. Conference.asyncapi.com. Please visit, register, come and join us. Any other final questions? Comments? Okay, thank you. Arrivederci.